I bet $10,000 that you don't know how to add. The businessman Ricardo Vasquez shouted, his voice echoing throughout the corporate office of the 47th floor in the financial district of Mexico City. Maria Guadalupe Sanchez stopped the mop halfway from the Italian marble soil. The gaps of soapy water fell slowly, marking the tense silence that seized the place. Executives in their brand costumes stopped their conversations, the secretaries looked like their MacBook computers. All eyes stuck in the 45-year-old woman, dressed in her faded blue uniform and worn plastic shoes. "Lord!" Maria murmured, her cracked hands clinging to the mourner's handle as if she were a rosary. "Don't come with, Lord." Ricardo approached, his Ferragamo shoes shining under the LED lights. "I have seen you here cleaning for 3 years. Sure, or primary end, right? Like all your people." Maria felt the family burning in her chest, that mixture of humiliation and anger she knew since she had arrived from Michoacán looking for the American dream she never found. He persecuted himself discreetly. "God, give me patience," he thought, remembering his grandmother's words, "Mika, when the world scuffs you, you offer the other cheek." "Look all," Ricardo continued, pointing it as if he were a specimen. "This is the difference between us and they. I have a MBA of Stanford. She probably or know how much is 7 for 8. The murmurs filled the atmosphere. Some executives smiled uncomfortable, others looked down. But Maria noticed something in the eyes of the young receptionist, Sophia, something that seemed to say, "Please defend you." "It's 56, Maria said in a low voice. "What did you say?" 7 for 8 or 50-6, Mr. Vasquez. Ricardo released a bitter laugh. "Wow. The maid knows the tables. How impressive." He turned to his employees. "Come. This is what happens when you give them confidence. They believe they can compete with us." Maria pressed her fists. In her mind, fragmented images appeared, a blackboard full of differential equations, university students taking notes, herself explaining the theorem of Pythagoras with the passion of who really understood the beauty of the numbers. "The $10,000 are on the table," Ricardo continued, taking out his wallet Louis Vuitton and placing a bundle of tickets on the reception desk. "I am going to give you a problem of mathematics. Nothing from the other world. If you solve it, you take the money. If not—" He smiled cruelly, "you long from here and never again step on a decent office." Maria's heart accelerated. $10,000. It was exactly what he needed for the diabetes treatment of his son Miguel in Houston. Exactly the amount that had been begging the Virgin of Guadalupe in her night prayers. Was this a sign? "What does it say, Donna?" Ricardo's voice distilled poison. "Is it encouraged, or better continues with the only thing you know how to do?" Maria looked up slowly. His brown eyes, who had seen so much humiliation and pain, now shone with something different. Something that had been asleep for 3 long years. "I accept your bet, Mr. Vasquez." The silence was a sepulchral. Ricardo blinked, clearly not waiting for that answer. "Is he sure?" "Because when he loses, if God wants, I will not lose." Ricardo smiled with malice and headed towards the white board they used for the presentations. He took a black score and wrote, "If a company invests $500,000 in advertising and obtains a return of 340% in the first year, but the operating costs increase by 15% monthly for 8 months, and inflation reduces the real value of money by 3.2% per year, what will be the real net gain at the end of the period?" Executives exchanged nervous looks. Some took their phones discreetly, probably to use calculators. "You have 10 minutes, Ricardo said, checking his Rolex. "Without calculator, without a phone. Only you, brain." Maria left the mop against the wall and approached the board. His hands trembled slightly while taking the score. The smell of the chemist brought memories of university classrooms, of expectant students, of a life that seemed to belong to another person. "Virgencita," she murmured so low that only she could be heard, "if this is your will, illuminates my mind." He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, something had changed in his expression. The hunched position of the cleaning employee straightened. His shoulders looped. And for the first time in 3 years, Dr. Maria Guadalupe Sanchez, former math of applied mathematics of the National Autonomous University of Mexico, returned to life. But just when he started writing the first equation, the elevator door opened with a metal ding. What the hell is happening here? The ice voice belonged to Patricia Vasquez, Ricardo's wife and real owner of 60% of the company. Ricardo paled. Patricia Vasquez entered as a storm in Louboutin heels. His black Chanel suit and perfectly fixed plain hair contrasted brutally with Maria's worn uniform. Employees dispersed as cockroaches when light turns on. Ricardo, I asked you a question. Patricia did not yell, I didn't need to do it. His voice had the type of authority that comes from inheriting empires, not to build them. Honey, I was just having a bit of the boys a bit. Ricardo loosened his Hermes, the sweat starting to form in his forehead. Betting with the cleaning employee. Patricia looked at Maria from top to bottom, but in her eyes there was something different from the contempt of her husband. It was curiosity. And how much money do you have on that table? 10,000, but, $10,000. Patricia's voice rose for the first time. Are you betting my company's money with an employee? Maria continued next to the board, the score still in her hand. But now his mind had flown years, to another office, another moment that changed his life forever. Flashback, National Autonomous University of Mexico, 2019. Dr. Sanchez, I need to talk to you. Maria looked up from the final exams she was qualifying. Rector Mendoza was at the door of his office, but his expression was not the usual friendly. Of course, Rector. Pass, please. It is about the investigation of fraud in federal funds. Maria's world stopped. I knew exactly what I was talking about. The $2 million that had disappeared from the scholarship program for low-income students. The money that his ex-husband, the administrative director Fernando Morales, had diverted for his personal investments in Las Vegas. Doctor, we know that you had nothing to do with this, but my name is in all documents as co-firming, Maria ended, feeling how her voice was broken. I'm very sorry. The board of directors has decided that both you and your husband should be removed from your positions. Effective immediately. End of flashback. Lady. Sophia's voice, the receptionist, brought her back to the present. Are you fine? Maria blinked. Patricia Vasquez was studying her intensely, as if she could read her story in the wrinkles of her face. Tell me your full name, Patricia ordered. Maria Guadalupe Sanchez Herrera, madam. Where are you from? Morelia, Michoacán. But I lived many years in Mexico City. Patricia nodded. And what did you do before cleaning offices? Silence became thick. Ricardo looked confused between his wife and Maria. The few employees were intended to work while listening to each word. He worked in education, Maria replied carefully. Education. Patricia approached more. What kind of education? Maria closed her eyes. He could lie, as he had done for 3 years. I could say that he was secretary or assistant. But something in Patricia's gaze, something in the way she had defended her company's money, told her that this woman respected the truth, regardless of how painful outside. She was a university professor of applied mathematics. Doctor of Mathematical Sciences for UNAM. The score that Ricardo held fell out of his hands, making a dry noise against marble floor. Sorry. Ricardo seemed to have seen a ghost. Patricia, however, smiled. It was a smile that he had not shown since he entered. Interesting. And what does a doctor in mathematics cleaning offices in the DF? Maria felt the tears threatening to leave, but he contained them. Not here. Do not face them. Life sometimes puts us evidence, madam. Sometimes we fall, and we have to find a way to get up, even from the ground. And the problem that my husband put you. Patricia pointed to the board. Can you solve it? Maria looked at the numbers and equations. In his mind, the operations were already organizing, the logical steps aligning as soldiers in formation. It was like riding a bicycle, you never really forget. Yes, madam, then do it. But Patricia. Ricardo interrupted, this is ridiculous. She is lying. There is no way that. Ricardo. Patricia's voice was like dry ice. Sit and shut up. Maria turned to the board. He took the score that Ricardo had dropped and began writing. But just when he wrote the first issue, his cell phone began to vibrate in his apron pocket. He took it out with trembling hands. It was a call from Houston. "Mom." The voice of his son Miguel sounded weak, scared. "Doctors say they need to operate, now. They say if we don't have the money." The line was cut. Maria looked at $10,000 on the desk, then the equation on the board, and finally the expectant eyes of Patricia Vasquez. "My God," he whispered, "what do you want me to do?" Maria kept the phone with trembling hands. The silence in the office was so dense that it could be cut with a knife. Patricia watched each of her movements, while Ricardo was sitting in a rotating chair, clearly outside her element. "Family problems?" Patricia asked, but there was no mockery in his voice. There was something that sounded almost maternal. "My son is in Houston. He needs an emergency operation and..." Maria stopped. "I couldn't show weakness. Not now. It is not important. I can solve your equation." "Everything is important when it comes to family," Patricia replied, and for a moment, Maria saw something vulnerable in the entrepreneur's eyes. "How old is your child?" 19. "Study engineering at University of Houston. Or studying." Maria's voice broke slightly. Flashback, General Hospital of Mexico, 2020. "Mrs. Sanchez, her son has severe type 1 diabetes. He will need life treatment." Maria looked at Miguel, just 16, connected to cables and monitors in the hospital bed. His ex-husband Fernando had disappeared with the scandal, leaving her without work, without money, and now with a sick son. "Doctor, how much will the treatment cost? Here in Mexico, we can handle it with Social Security, but..." The doctor lowered his voice. "Madam, I have seen her child's file. It's exceptionally brilliant in mathematics, right? If I could get a scholarship to study in the United States." "The United States?" "Doctor, I have no money or for. The treatment there is much more advanced. It could have a completely normal life. But it has to be soon, before the damage is irreversible." End of flashback. "So you came to Mexico City to work to pay for your studies," said Patricia. "It wasn't a question. I worked on what I could get. First I tried to give private classes, but..." Maria swallowed. "When the scandal came out in the newspapers, nobody wanted to hire the wife of the thief of the UNAM. So I came here, to the capital, where nobody knew me." "And did you get work cleaning offices?" "At first, nobody gave me work because I was overheated. I had to hide my doctorate, pretend that I had just finished high school. I changed my story, my identity. Everything." Ricardo stirred uncomfortable in his chair. "Patricia, this is very emotional, but how long have you been cleaning this office?" Patricia completely ignored it. 3 years. Night turn, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Clean this building and 2 others in Santa Fe. 3 jobs. 4, if you tell the Marriott Hotel on weekends. Patricia was silent for a moment, processing the information. Then he approached the board and read the problem again. "Ricardo, this problem you put, where did you get it?" Well, it is in the report that our McKinsey consultants gave us last week. It is part of Roy's analysis that you couldn't solve in a week, right?" Patricia turned to him. "That's why we hired McKinsey, because you couldn't do these calculations." Ricardo's face got red like a tomato. "Patricia, that's not. How much is McKinsey charging us to solve problems like this?" $250,000 for the complete project, but, and how much are you going to pay her if she solves it? $10,000, but that was just a joke." Patricia approached Maria and looked at her straight in the eye. "Dr. Sanchez, because that is your real title, right?" "Yes, madam, I am going to make a different proposal. If you can solve not only this problem, but also to review and improve all the financial analysis that McKinsey gave us, pay you $50,000. Cash." Maria felt her legs loosen. "Madam, but there is a condition." "Which?" "That you tell me the whole truth. On the scandal, on your ex-husband, about why a mathematics doctor really is cleaning floors at 2 in the morning." Maria closed her eyes. He could listen to his grandmother, Mika, "The truth always hurts at the beginning, but it is the only thing that really frees us. Okay, he whispered. I will tell everything. But just when he was about to start, his phone rang again. This time was not Miguel, it was the Houston hospital. Mrs. Sanchez. This is Dr. Martinez from Houston Methodist Hospital. I'm afraid your son's condition you have deteriorated rapidly. We need to operate within the next 2 hours, or. The line was not cut this time. But the words that followed made Maria collapse in a chair. Or we might lose him. The $10,000 on the desk seemed to make fun of it. The $50,000 that Patricia had offered were a fortune, but what were they served if they arrived too late? Patricia took the phone from Maria. Dr. Martinez? This is Patricia Vasquez, CEO of Vasquez and Associates. Whatever Miguel Sanchez needs, do it now. I'll wire the money immediately. Ma'am, the surgery costs are estimated at $180,000, plus postoperative care. I said do it. Now. Patricia hung and looked at Mary, who had tears running down her cheeks. Because? Maria managed to articulate. Because, Patricia went to the window that gave the skyline of Mexico City. Many years ago, I was also a desperate woman begging for her son's life. Maria could not stop shaking. The tears ran freely on his face while Patricia spoke on the phone with the bank, authorizing the transfer of money to Houston Methodist Hospital. Yes, it's urgent, $200,000 to cover all expenses. Yes, I understand that it's Saturday night. I don't care who they have to wake up. Ricardo remained silent, clearly exceeded by the events. The few employees left in the office had retired discreetly, but Sophia, the receptionist, stayed close, offering Maria a glass of water and some Kleenex. Thank you, Majida, Maria murmured, drying her eyes. My mother is also a cleaning employee, whispered Sophia. In a hospital in Guadalajara. I know what it feels like. When Patricia finished the call, she approached Maria and sat in the chair next door, not matter that her $3,000 suit touched the wet uniform of the employee. That's. Your son is going well, Mrs. Vasquez. I don't know how I'm going to pay you. We'll talk about that later. Now tell me your story. Everything. Maria breathed deeply. It was time to break the 3-year silence. Flashback, Casa Familia Sanchez, Morales, Coyoacán, 2019. Fernando, how could you do this to me? Maria had in her hands the documents that the university accountant had shown him. Millionaire transfers, accounts in Las Vegas, properties that never knew that they existed. Maria, calm down. I can explain everything. $2 million, Fernando. Scholarship money for poor students. And my name is in all documents. You signed what I asked you. You never asked what it was. That phrase hit her like a hammer. It was true. For 15 years of marriage, he had blindly trusted him. Fernando managed the entire administrative part while she concentrated on teaching and research. Those of the prosecutor's office will come tomorrow, Fernando continued, packing a suitcase. They will arrest both of us. Both? I knew nothing. Do you think it's going to care? You are my wife, confirming of everything. On paper, you are as guilty as me. And Miguel? What will happen to our son? Fernando stopped at the door, with his suitcase in his hand. Miguel is going to be better without us. Especially without me. It was the last time Maria saw her ex-husband. End of flashback. The next day the police arrived, Maria continued, drying the last tears. But Fernando had already fled. They say he is somewhere in Europe. The lawyers explained to me that although I didn't know anything, I had participated without knowing it in fraud. I lost my work, my house, my reputation. Everything. And Miguel? Miguel was 16. He saw how they dragged her mother handcuffed throughout the university. The newspapers published photos, put headlines such as, Professor Ladrona, and, how she stole millions of poor students. Patricia pressed her fists. Damn vultures from the press. But Miguel never judged me. He never blamed me. When I went on bail, he hugged me and said, Mom, I know you're innocent. And let's get ahead together. How old you were when you started cleaning offices? 40-2 years. The first time I grabbed a professional mop was in a Polanco building. I cried all night. Not for work, but because. Maria paused, because I realized that I had been very arrogant my whole life. I had always seen the cleaning employees as invisible. And how did you end here? Miguel got a partial scholarship for Houston. We needed money to complete his expenses and medical treatment. Someone told me that here in Santa Fe they paid better. I requested work with false documents, hiding my doctorate. Patricia was thoughtful. Do you know what impresses me most about your story? That you never surrendered. You preferred to clean apartments rather than abandon your child. It is that you do not understand. Maria straightened, and for the first time that night, her voice sounded firm. I failed once. I blindly trusted Fernando, and for my negligence, hundreds of students lost their scholarships. He was not going to fail, Miguel. And your faith? How do you keep your faith after all this? Maria smiled for the first time. Madam, faith is not to believe that nothing bad will happen. Faith is to believe that God is with you when everything goes wrong. He stood up and walked to the window, watching the city's lights that never sleep. Every night, when I cleaned these floors, the complete rosary prayed. He asked the Virgin of Guadalupe to give me strength for one more day. And every morning, when I saw the sunrise from this 47th floor, I thank him because Miguel and I were alive, together, and fighting. Patricia approached her. And you never thought about giving up? Every day. But then I remembered my grandmother's words, Mija, God does not send us evidence that we cannot overcome. If this cross sent you, it is because you know you are strong enough to load it. Patricia's phone rang. It was the Houston hospital. Mrs. Vasquez. The surgery was successful. Miguel is stable and. Patricia put the phone on speaker so that Maria could listen. He's asking for his mother. Maria collapsed on her knees, but this time not despair, but of pure gratitude. Thank you, God. Thank you, Virgencita. Thank you. Patricia helped her get up. Now, Dr. Sanchez, are you ready to solve that equation? Maria looked at the board, then the $10,000 that followed on the desk, and finally to Patricia. Madam, after what you did for my son, I would solve all the equations of the world. But when he approached the board, he realized that someone else had entered the office. He was an older man, elegantly dressed, who watched the scene with great interest. Patricia, my love, said the man with an American accent, are you going to introduce me to the new consultant? Ricardo paled even more, if that was possible. Mr. Thompson. It was James Thompson, the main partner of McKinsey & Company in Mexico. And he had just heard all the conversation. James Thompson entered the office with the confidence of someone who had handled corporate crises for more than 30 years. His Armani gray suit and his perfectly combed silver hair contrasted with the emotional chaos he had witnessed from the door. Good evening everyone, he said in a perfect Spaniard with a slight Texan accent. Patricia, I received your message about a financial emergency, but I didn't expect to find this. Patricia straightened, instantly returning in his CEO mode. James, perfect timing. I present Dr. Maria Guadalupe Sanchez, specialist in applied mathematics. Doctor? James looked at Maria's cleaning uniform, not with contempt. What university? UNAM, Mr. Thompson. Doctorate in mathematical sciences with specialization in statistical analysis and models of economic prediction. James nodded. Impressive. UNAM has one of the most rigorous mathematics programs in the world. He turned to Ricardo. And why exactly a doctor of the UNAM is cleaning your office, Ricardo? Ricardo stuttered something incomprehensible. Patricia intervened. Long history, James. But the short version is that Ricardo opted $10,000 that Maria could not solve a mathematical problem. What problem? Patricia pointed to the board. James approached to read it and his expression changed completely. This is Roy's problem that my team has been working all week, he murmured. Did Ricardo put this as a bets? The same, Patricia replied with a smile that did not reach his eyes. James turned to Maria. Dr. Sanchez, have you had the opportunity to review the problem? Briefly, Mr. Thompson. But I can solve it. Without calculator. Without calculator. James looked at his Omega watch. Very good. I give you 15 minutes. If you can solve this correctly, I personally offer a position in my senior consultant team. That Ricardo stood so fast that he knocked his chair. James, she is a cleaning employee. You can't. Ricardo, James's voice was sheer like a scalpel, I have been in this business for 30 years. I have seen geniuses working as waiters because the system failed them, and I have seen idiots directing corporations because they were lucky. The real talent is rare, and when you find it, it doesn't matter where you find it. Maria approached the board. His hands were no longer trembling. The news that Miguel was fine had released a huge pressure from his chest, and now his mind was clear as a crystal. Can I use the entire board? Asked. Use everything you need, Patricia replied. Maria started writing. Not only numbers, but explaining every step of your process. Problem analysis. Initial investment, $500,000. Return, 340% equals $1,700,000. Operating costs, increase 15% monthly for 8 months. Inflation, 3.2% per year. Maria wrote fluently, as if the numbers were her native language. Step 1, gross return calculation. $500,000 times 3.40 equals $1,700,000. Step 2, evolution of operational costs. Assuming base costs of $100,000. Month 1, $100,000. Month 2, $115,000, 15% more. Month 3, $132,250. Month 4, $152,087.50. The geometric pattern continues. Month 8, $305,902.32. Step 3, total sum of incremental costs. Sigma equals $100,000 times 1.15, caret 8, 1, / 1.15 to 1, equals $1,518,477. James approached the board more, watching fascinated while Maria worked. He is using the geometric series formula, he murmured. Bright. Step 4, inflation adjustment. Present value equals $1,700,000 / 1 plus 0.032, caret 8/12 equals $1,700,000 / 1,0213 equals $1,664,498. Step 5, real net gain. $1,664,498 to $500,000, $1,518,477 equals $353,979. Maria turned to the group, the score still in her hand. The answer is that there is no profit. There is a real net loss of $353,979. The silence was absolute. James quickly checked the calculations on his phone, doing mental operations. After 2 minutes, he looked up. Dr. Sanchez, my team reached the same conclusion, but it took us a week and 3 senior consultants. He turned to Patricia. This woman has just saved you a fortune by demonstrating that the project you were considering would be a financial disaster. Patricia smiled with satisfaction. And what do you think of the proposal I made, James? What proposal? $50,000 to review and improve all the analysis that McKinsey delivered. James laughed. Patricia, that is almost insulting Dr. Sanchez. For an analysis of this quality, my firm would easily charge $150,000. Maria, who had been listening in silence, finally spoke. Gentlemen, I appreciate her offers, but I have to return to my work. I have 2 other buildings to clean tonight. That? James seemed incredulous. Doctor, did you understand what I just said? I am offering a position that pays $200,000 a year, with complete benefits. And I thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. But my work visa is specific for cleaning services. I can't legally work as a consultant. Reality hit everyone like a hammer. Ricardo, who had been silent, finally found his voice. Wait, are you not a Mexican citizen? I am a Mexican citizen, but I am working here with a temporary visa. When I lost my work at the university, I also lost my regular immigration status. I had to apply as a basic service worker. Patricia frowned. Who helped you with migratory procedures? Nobody. I made them myself. I had no money for a lawyer. Maria, Patricia approached. What kind of visa do you have exactly? Non-qualified temporal worker visa. Category TN 2. James and Patricia exchanged worried looks. Dr. Sanchez, James said carefully, that category does not exist. Someone scammed her. Maria's world staggered. What does that mean? It means, Patricia took his phone, that you have technically working illegally in Mexico. And that anyone who helped with those documents stole your money. Maria leaned against the board. 3 years. 3 years of working 18 hours a day, of hiding, living with constant fear of being deported. How much did you pay for that documentation? James asked. $5,000. It was all I had. Children of. Patricia shut up, seeing the devastated expression on Mary's face. At that time, Maria's phone rang again. It was Miguel from Houston. Mom. Mom, are you there? Yes, my love. How do you feel? Much better. Doctors say that surgery was perfect. But Mom, there is something that I have to tell you. What's up, son? I received a call from the University of Houston. There is a problem with my scholarship. They say that if I cannot check my legal immigration status in the next 30 days, they will cancel my studies. Maria closed her eyes. It was as if the universe were playing with her, giving her hope just to take it again. Don't worry, Miguel. Let's solve it. How, Mom? We don't have legal roles. When Maria hung, Patricia was already marking another number. Who do you call? James asked. The best immigration lawyer in Mexico City. His name is Roberto Hernandez, and I owe some favors. Patricia, it's 11 at night on Saturday. Roberto works when I need it. Patricia waited for them to answer. Roberto. I am Patricia Vasquez. I need you to come to my office right now. It's a migratory emergency, yes, right now. I don't care if you're at a dinner. This can't wait. He hung and looked at Maria. Roberto will be in an hour. Let's solve this. Mrs. Vasquez, I can't pay a lawyer. Who said anything to pay? Patricia smiled. Maria, don't you understand what just happened here? No, madam. You just demonstrated that you are more valuable than my financial department together. You just resolved in 15 minutes what McKinsey took a week. And most importantly, Patricia paused, you reminded me why I started this business. What do you mean? Many years ago, I was also a desperate woman who needed an opportunity. Someone gave it to me. Now it is my turn to give it to another person. James nodded. Patricia is right, doctor. But there is something else to know, that, the problem you just solved was not just an academic year. It was to determine if my client, a Fortune 500 company, should invest $50 million in a project in Mexico. You just avoided that you lose those $50 million. Maria looked at him without completely understanding. What I am saying is that your analysis is worth much more than $50,000. It is worth millions. But before someone could answer, the elevator doors opened again. This time 3 men entered dark costumes, showing official credentials. Good night. We are from the National Migration Institute. We are looking for Maria Guadalupe Sanchez. The 3 immigration agents entered with the silent authority of those who are accustomed to changing lives just by showing a credential. The leader, a man in his 50s with gray mustache, looked directly at Maria. Are you Maria Guadalupe Sanchez Herrera? Maria felt that her legs became a jelly, but managed to stand up. Yes, sir. Agent Rodriguez, I am. We have a migratory verification order. Can you show me your documents? Patricia started immediately. Excuse me, agent. I am Patricia Vasquez, CEO of this company. Can I ask what legal authority they have to break into my private office on a Saturday night? Agent Rodriguez looked at her with respect, but without intimidating. Mrs. Vasquez, we received an anonymous complaint about a foreigner working with fraudulent documentation. We are obliged to investigate. An anonymous complaint? James came forward. At 11 at night on a Saturday? Doesn't timing not find it convenient? The 3 men exchanged looks. It was obvious that someone had made a very specific call to appear exactly at this time. Maria looked at Ricardo, who had been suspiciously quiet since the agents arrived. His red face and his inability to maintain visual contact gave him away. Agent Rodriguez, Maria took out the documents he had been carrying for 3 years. Here are my rolls. The agent carefully reviewed them, passing each page under the light. After several minutes, he looked up. Mrs. Sanchez, these documents are very sophisticated falsifications, but falsifications at last. You will have to accompany us. Wait. Patricia raised her hand. Agent, before it proceeds, can you make a call? Madam, this is a national security issue. A call to the Foreign Secretary. Marcelo Ebrard is my personal friend. Agent Rodriguez hesitated. Not every day someone mentions having the personal number of the Chancellor of Mexico. 5 minutes, he granted. Patricia immediately marked. Marcelo. I am Patricia Vasquez. Yes, I know it is late. I need an urgent favor. There is an immigration situation in my office and... Can you talk to your agents? The phone passed to Agent Rodriguez, who moved away to speak privately. The conversation lasted exactly 3 minutes. When he returned, his attitude had changed completely. Mrs. Sanchez, the secretary instructs me to give him 72 hours to regularize his immigration situation. If he does not do it at that time, we understand it perfectly, Patricia interrupted. Thank you, agent. After the agents left, Maria collapsed in a chair. 70-2 hours. How am I going to fix in 70-2 hours what I could not fix in 3 years? With the right lawyer, Patricia replied when the elevator doors opened once more. Roberto Hernandez entered as a professional hurricane. Impeccable suit despite having been taken from one dinner, leather briefcase in one hand, phone in the other. At 40-5, he was known as the Magician for his ability to resolve cases impossible for immigration. Patricia, this is going to be due until the day I die, he said, but smiling. Then he looked at Maria. Are you client? Roberto, I present Dr. Maria Guadalupe Sanchez. He needs to regularize her immigration situation in 72 hours. Roberto sat in front of Maria and opened her laptop. Doctor, I'm going to ask you very specific questions. I need it to be completely honest with me, no matter how bad the answers sound. During the next hour, Roberto interrogated Maria about every detail of her life, her education, her work at UNAM, the scandal, her arrival in Mexico City, false documents, everything. Very good, he finally said, closing the laptop. I have good and bad news. Give me the bad first, Maria asked. The documents that were sold not only are false, but are associated with a criminal network that has scammed hundreds of people. Using them technically makes it involuntary complicit migratory fraud. Maria closed her eyes. And the good ones? The good news is several. First, as a victim of this network, you can host a government protection program. Second, its UNAM doctorate automatically qualifies it for an exceptional talent visa. And third, Roberto made a dramatic pause. Third, the fact that James Thompson is willing to offer him a senior consulting firm completely changes his migratory profile. James straightened. In what sense? In the sense that McKinsey & Company can sponsor it for a highly qualified professional visa. With a formal job offer, I can have its legalized papers in 48 hours. How much will all this cost? Maria asked. For a victim of immigration fraud with a doctoral degree and job offer from a Fortune 500 company, nothing. The government absorbs all costs as part of the victim protection program. Maria could not believe what she was listening. Are you telling me that I can fix my legal situation, free, completely free? But I need James to formally confirm the job offer. James did not hesitate a second. Roberto, therefore confirmed that McKinsey & Company offers Dr. Maria Guadalupe Sanchez a position as a senior consultant in our financial analysis department, with an annual salary of $200,000, complete benefits, and total migratory sponsorship. Perfect. Patricia, can you get a letter of business recommendation? I'm already writing it, Patricia replied, quickly typed on his phone. What else do you need? I need Dr. Sanchez to demonstrate her professional competence to a panel of government experts. Basically, she has to solve advanced mathematical problems to prove that she really claims to be. Maria smiled for the first time since the agents arrived. Mathematical problems? I can do it. Excellent. The panel meets Sunday at 2 p.m. at the offices of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. James approached the board where Maria had solved the financial problem. Roberto, will the panel be prepared for the level of this woman? Why do you ask? Because, James pointed out the calculations, what is just done here is advanced doctoral level. Not any panel will be able to evaluate this properly. Roberto studied the board for the first time and his expression changed. Did you solve this without calculator? Yeah, in 15 minutes, less than 15. Roberto turned to Patricia. Do you have an idea of what you have here? What are you talking about? Patricia, I know hundreds of consultants from McKinsey, KPMG, Deloitte. None could have resolved this so fast. This woman is not just a doctor in mathematics. She is a genius. At that time, Maria's phone rang again. It was Miguel. Mom. I have incredible news. What happened, son? The director of the engineering program came to see me to the hospital. He says that if you can fix your immigration situation, the University of Houston will not only keep my scholarship, but that they will offer me a complete scholarship for mastery and doctorate. Oh really? But Mom, there is something else. The director says they are looking for visiting teachers for the Department of Applied Mathematics. He asked if he knew a doctor in mathematics that he could be interested in teaching in Houston. Maria looked at everyone present in the office, Patricia, James, Roberto, even Sophia, and Ricardo. Everyone was looking at her with expectation. Miguel, he said slowly, I think I know someone. But just when it seemed that everything was accommodating, Roberto frowned while reviewing something in his laptop. There is a problem, he announced. A big problem. What problem? Patricia asked. The UNAM scandal. The charges against Dr. Sanchez were never officially retired. Technically, it is still a fugitive from Mexican justice. The silence that followed was deafening. Roberto's revelation fell on the office like a bomb. Maria felt that all the hope she had been building collapsed like a castle of cards. What exactly does that mean? Patricia asked, although for his tone it was obvious that he already knew the answer. It means, Roberto closed his laptop slowly, that although we can fix her immigration situation, Dr. Sanchez cannot leave Mexico. There is an arrest warrant pending against her. But you said he was a victim of his ex-husband, James protested. And it is. But on paper, it is still co-responsibly of fraud. Until those charges are formally retired, I can't go to Houston, Maria completed, the voice just a whisper. I can't meet Miguel. He sat down heavily in a chair, his hands covering his face. 3 years of struggle, 1 night of miracles, and in the end he was still a prisoner of the decisions of a man who had betrayed her. There must be something we can do, Patricia insisted. There is a possibility, Roberto said cautiously. But it would be complicated. What possibility? We would have to reopen the case, demonstrate the innocence of Dr. Sanchez, and get all the positions to withdraw. But that would take months, maybe years, either. James asked, capturing Roberto's tone. Or we find Fernando Morales. Maria raised her head sharply. My ex-husband. But he disappeared. No one knows where he is. Not exactly, Roberto smiled for the first time that night. I have contacts in Interpol. If they give me 24 hours, I can locate it. And then what? How will that help Maria? Patricia asked. If Fernando Morales formally confesses that he acted alone, that he falsified the signature of Dr. Sanchez in the key documents, and that she had no knowledge of fraud, prosecutors would withdraw all charges immediately. And why would Fernando do that? Maria knew her ex-husband. He was a coward, but he wasn't stupid. Because, Roberto brought another phone from his briefcase, I have information that Fernando doesn't want him to come to light. It marked a memory number. Detective Ramirez. I am Roberto Hernandez, yes, the lawyer. I need you to confirm the location of Fernando Morales. How do you know? Where is it? The conversation lasted 5 minutes. When Roberto hung, he was smiling widely. Fernando Morales is in Madrid, Spain. And here comes the interesting thing, he has just been arrested by the Spanish police for financial fraud. Apparently, he tried the same scheme with European universities. What does that mean to Maria? James asked. It means that Fernando needs urgent legal help. And I know the best criminal lawyers in Madrid. Patricia immediately understood. You are going to offer legal help in exchange for confessing the truth about Mary. Exactly. It's win-win. He gets the best possible legal representation, and Maria gets her freedom. Maria could not believe what she was listening. After everything he did to me, could Fernando free me? The irony of life, James murmured. The man who destroyed her could be the same as the save. Roberto was already marking another number. Alejandro. I'm Roberto from Mexico. Yes, I know what time it is. I have a client for you in Madrid. It's called Fernando Morales and needs the best lawyer in Spain. No, it's not free, but there are conditions. While Roberto negotiated, Patricia approached Maria. How do you feel? As if he were in an emotional roller coaster, Maria replied. 3 hours ago I was just a cleaning employee without future. Now I could have a new career, legal roles, and the possibility of meeting with my son. And what do you feel about Fernando? Maria thought carefully before responding. I hate what he did to me. I hate how he destroyed our lives. But. He paused. My grandmother always said that forgiveness is not a gift that you give to who hurt you. It's a gift that you give yourself. Can you forgive it? If you free me to be with Miguel, if you allow me to rebuild my life, yes, I think I can forgive it. James, who had been watching the board where Maria solved the problem, turned to them. Dr. Sanchez, there is something else that I want to discuss with you. What is, Mr. Thompson? The job offer I did. I want to modify it. Maria's heart sank. Are you going to withdraw it? On the contrary. After seeing what you can do, I want to offer you something better. James approached the board and pointed out the calculations. This analysis that did not only be correct, is revolutionary. The way it integrated the variables, how it calculated the impact composed of inflation. This is Nobel-level methodology. Mr. Thompson, I think it exaggerates. I don't exag anything. Do you know what I'm going to do tomorrow morning? That? I'm going to call my partners in New York and I will tell you that I found the person who will direct our new predictive analysis department for Latin America. Lead, Dr. Sanchez, I am offering a position as a senior director, with a salary of $350,000 per year, a team of 12 consultants under their direction, and the authority to reject or approve projects of up to $100 million. Maria leaned against the wall. Mr. Thompson, I cleaned floors this morning, and tonight solved a problem that my best team could not solve in a week. Talent does not disappear, doctor. Sometimes it hides. At that time, Roberto finished his call and approached the group. Good news. Fernando Morales agrees to confess in exchange for legal representation. We could have formal confession tomorrow afternoon. So fast? Patricia asked. When you are in a Spanish prison facing 10 years in prison, decisions are made quickly. Maria closed her eyes and breathed deeply. When he opened them, there were tears, but this time they were gratitude. I can't believe this is happening. Believe it, said Patricia. But there is something I want you to understand, that, all this is happening not because you were lucky, but because you never surrendered. Because when the world threw you to the ground, you got up and moved on. Because when they had to choose between your pride and the well-being of your son, you chose your son. Patricia is right, James added. I've seen many people face crisis. Most give up. You never did. Maria looked towards the window, where the lights of Mexico City extended to the horizon. Do you know what is the strangest of all this? That? Patricia asked. This morning, when I got to clean this building, I pray like every night. I asked God for a sign, any sign that things were going to improve, and I never imagined that the signal would come in the form of an arrogant man betting that he didn't know how to add. Everyone turned to Ricardo, who had been sitting silent since the immigration agents arrived. His face had gone through all the colors of the rainbow during the night. Ricardo, said Patricia finally, I think you owe us an explanation. About what? On how exactly the immigration agents knew where to find Maria at 11 p.m. on Saturday. Ricardo paled even more. I don't know what you are talking about. Ricardo, Patricia's voice had the edge of a razor, I've been married to you for 15 years. I know when you lie. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Ricardo sank into his chair. I called them. Ricardo's confession fell like a bomb in the office. Patricia looked at him with a mixture of disbelief and disgust that she had never shown before her husband. Did you call them? His voice was dangerously low. Did you call immigration to deport a woman who had just proved to be 1,000 times more capable than you? Ricardo stirred uncomfortable in his chair. Patricia, you don't understand, she was humiliating me in front of everyone. How was I going to look if a cleaning employee solved problems that I can't solve? How were you going to look? Patricia stood up so sharply that her chair rolled back. Do you just potentially ruin the life of an innocent woman because your ego could not bear that it was smarter than you? It's not just that. Ricardo also got up, finally showing some aggressiveness. You do not understand what it is to work every day knowing that anyone can come and do your job better than you. You inherited this company, Patricia. I have to demonstrate my value every day, and you thought that the way to demonstrate your value was to destroy someone who had never hurt you. Maria, who had been listening in silence, finally spoke. Mr. Vasquez. Ricardo turned to her, probably waiting for him to attack or insult him. I understand why he did it. That? Patricia seemed incredulous. Mr. Vasquez, Maria approached him. For 3 years you saw me clean these offices. For you, I was invisible. It was only part of the furniture. And suddenly, discover that the invisible person had capacities that you do not have. Exactly. It's humiliating. No, Maria shook her head. It's not humiliating. It's an opportunity. An opportunity, the opportunity to realize that everyone, absolutely everyone, we have unique talents. You have talents that I do not have. I have some that you do not have. That does not make us enemies. It makes us complementary. Ricardo looked at her confusion. I don't understand. Mr. Vasquez, you handle people. You have maintained teams working for years. You know how to move a company, how to make things happen in the real world. I can solve equations, but I would not know how to implement those solutions in a real company. Patricia observed the conversation with fascination. What are you trying to say? Ricardo asked. That instead of seeing me as a threat, I could see me as a tool. My calculations could make your projects more successful. Your practical experience could make my analysis really useful. James approached the group. Dr. Sanchez, is he suggesting what I think he is suggesting? I am suggesting that we all win more working together than destroying each other. Roberto, who had been observing with legal interest, intervened. It's a beautiful feeling, doctor, but Ricardo committed a crime. Falsely calling immigration to damage someone is obstruction of justice. I don't want to present charges, Maria said immediately. That? Patricia seemed surprised. I don't want to present charges against Mr. Vasquez. Maria, Patricia approached her. This man was about to ruin your life for spite. It deserves a second chance, like the one you are giving me. Maria turned to Ricardo directly. Mr. Vasquez, I have been in the background. I have been desperate, humiliated, doing things that I never thought I would have to do. I know what it feels when the world tells you that nothing is worth. Ricardo looked down, but I also know that people can change. That we can be better than we are in our worst moments, because? Ricardo asked, his voice barely audible. Why are you forgiving me after what I did? Maria smiled softly. Because an hour ago, his wife saved my son's life without knowing me, without having anything. Because Mr. Thompson offered me a job that will change my life. Because Mr. Hernandez is working for free to fix my legal situation. He paused, looking out the window towards the city's lights. Because I have learned that when you receive grace, you have to give it too. Roberto's phone rang the moment. Alejandro? Do you already have news from Madrid? Everyone waited in silence while Roberto listened. His expression gradually changed from professional to surprise, and finally to something similar to astonishment. Are you sure? He said exactly. Perfect. Send me everything by email immediately. He hung and turned to Mary with a huge smile. Fernando Morales not only confessed. He delivered documents that proved that he falsified his signature on multiple occasions, that he diverted funds without his knowledge, and that you were victim as much as the students. What does that mean? Patricia asked. It means that tomorrow morning I will present these documents to the public ministry. For tomorrow afternoon, all charges against Dr. Sanchez will have been officially withdrawn. Maria sat heavily, emotions finally surpassing her. Is it really? Will I be free, completely free? Free to travel, free to work wherever you want, free to meet with your child. James approached her. Dr. Sanchez, my offer is still standing. But now I want to add something else. I want you to consider dividing your time between McKinsey here in Mexico and teaching at the University of Houston. We could fix a shared position. Teach again. Maria's eyes filled with tears. I thought I would never be in front of a classroom. Not only teach, James continued. I want you to direct an exchange program between Mexican and American universities. A program to identify lost talents as yours. Patricia applauded gently. It's perfect. Maria, you could help other people who are in situations similar to yours. How many brilliant people are outside, cleaning floors or serving tables, because circumstances put them there? Maria reflected. How many doctors, engineers, artists, are they hidden in jobs that keep them invisible? Exactly, James said. That's why I want this program to lead. At that time, Maria's phone rang. It was Miguel. Mom. Doctors say I can leave the hospital tomorrow. Do you think you can come soon? Maria looked at Roberto, who nodded confidently. Yes, my love. Very soon. I promise you, Mom. Are you crying? Yes, Miguel. But for the first time in a long time, I'm crying with happiness. When he hung, Patricia approached her. Maria, there is more than I want to do. The $10,000 of the original bet. I want you to have them. But Mrs. Vasquez, the bet was with her husband, and he lost. Patricia looked at Ricardo. Isn't it true, Ricardo? Ricardo nodded. I lost completely. Maria solved the problem, and I behaved like an idiot. The $10,000 are yours, Patricia confirmed. But I want to add something. Patricia went to her desk and took a check. Additional $100,000. As a bonus for extraordinary consulting services. Mrs. Vasquez, that's too much. Maria, do you have an idea how much money you have saved me tonight? The project you were going to discard would have been a $50 million disaster. But, nothing of Peros. In addition, Patricia smiled, you will need money to move to Houston, find a place for you and Miguel, and settle while you start your new life. Roberto closed his briefcase. Dr. Sanchez, tomorrow at 9 a.m. I wait for her in my office. We will sign all the papers for her new legal situation. At 2 p.m., James added, he has a meeting at the McKinsey offices to formalize his contract. And tomorrow night, said Patricia, I want seen them together. I want to know the woman who reminded me why I started in this business. Maria stayed in the center of the office, surrounded by people who had been strange, and now they had completely changed her life. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank us, said Patricia. It simply promises that when you find the next Maria Guadalupe cleaning floors in some building, you will give it the same opportunity that we gave you. I promised them. Ricardo approached shyly. Dr. Sanchez. Maria. I'm very sorry. Not only for calling immigration, but for treating her as if she were invisible for 3 years. Mr. Vasquez, Maria extended her hand, we all deserve to start over. Ricardo shook his hand, and for the first time that night, he smiled genuinely. Do you know what? He finally said. Tomorrow I will start greeting all the employees of the building. By name. It's a good start, Maria replied. While everyone was preparing to leave, Maria approached the blackboard one last time where she had resolved the equation that changed her life. He took the draft and cleaned all the numbers. Why does the solution erase? Sophia asked, the receptionist. Because, Maria smiled, tomorrow there will be new problems to solve. New opportunities to calculate. New life to build. He turned to the window where the first lights of dawn began to appear on Mexico City. Besides, he added, pursued gently, I don't need the board to remember the most important lesson of tonight. Which? Patricia asked. That God can really do miracles with anything. Even with a cleaning employee who knows how to add. Everyone laughed, but it was the laugh of relief, of hope, of the new beginnings. While Maria picked up her mop and cleaning cart for the last time, she couldn't help smiling. This morning the cleaning employee had arrived as Maria. Tomorrow he would wake up as Dr. Maria Guadalupe Sanchez, Senior Director of Predictive Analysis of McKinsey & Company, visiting professor at the University of Houston, and above all, a free woman to hug her son. The last will be first, he murmured, remembering his grandmother's words. And for the first time in 3 years, Maria Guadalupe Sanchez walked to the elevator with her head up, not because she would have stopped being humble, but because she had remembered who she really was. While the elevator doors closed, Patricia shouted, "Maria! How much is $10,000 plus $100,000? $110,000. Maria replied, smiling. Exactly. And that doesn't even need a calculator. The doors closed with Maria laughing, and for the first time in a long time, laughter did not have a pinch of pain. Because the last will be first, and the first will be last. Matthew 20 verse 16. 6 months later, Dr. Miguel Sanchez graduated summa cum laude of the University of Houston with a full scholarship for postgraduate studies. At the graduation ceremony, she was accompanied by her mother, Dr. Maria Guadalupe Sanchez, who had been appointed Professor of the Year by the Department of Mathematics. The talent identification program that Maria directed had found and helped more than 200 underemployed professionals in Mexico and the United States. Ricardo Vasquez completed an inclusive leadership program and now directs social responsibility initiatives in his wife's company. And in the Santa Fe building, there is a small plaque next to the elevators that says, "In memory of all invisible talents that expect to be discovered. Keep your eyes open and your heart will." The plaque was the idea of Sophia, who now studies business administration with a scholarship established for company employees. Because sometimes, one night can change not only a life, but many. And sometimes, all that is needed is that someone bets against you to discover what you really are worth.